Welcome back once again to the Schmidt Show here on News Radio 1029 KARN. I am your host, Brad Schmidt. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. 501-403-KARN is the phone number, 501-403-5276. And I've fired up the video, and I actually have the camera turned on today. I realized yesterday, after a full 10 or 12 minute segment, I realized that I didn't turn the camera on, and all that anyone saw was a logo, a Schmidt Head logo for about 10 or 12 minutes or whatever, the first segment of the show. So I actually have the video on. If you want to follow us over on Twitter, you can do that. It's just News Radio 1029. You can follow us on YouTube, which is basically the same, or just right over there at the good old-fashioned News Radio 1029 website. And you can check us out there. Click on the hover over the on-demand tab, and you'll see the little drop down, and one of your options there is Karn TV. So that way you can see me. We talk a little bit. You can actually see my face, see what I look like. I'm not sure that that's a positive for anybody, but I mean, hey, it is there if you are so inclined. And so as we talk about the things that we're going to kick off today on the show, there is an interesting story that has broken yesterday. You heard throughout the day on the news about the armored car, the attempted robbery of an armored car, or at least an armored car driver who was restocking a cash machine. And it turns out that this story is getting a little bit weirder every minute. So apparently, the guy rides up on a bicycle to rob an armored car, or to rob an armored car driver. I'm not sure if he was actually trying to rob the armored car or if he was simply trying to steal the cash that he was refilling into the ATM. Those details are not clear just yet. But in some form or manner, he was attempting to rob an armored car driver or armored car. And he did it on a bicycle. Not only did he do it on a bicycle, he did it with no weapon. He used a can of mace or bear spray, pepper spray, whatever you want to call it. He used a non-lethal weapon in an attempt to rob this armored car. In the process, he got himself shot. The security guard was able to overcome the irritation caused by the mace or pepper spray, whatever it was, and fired upon the individual. He didn't know who the individual was at the time. Turns out that his name is David Green. David Green is as far as I can tell, I'm 99% certain I'm accurate on this. He is a member of the Green Gillespie law firm here in the Little Rock metro area. Now, if you thought, boy, that name sounds kind of familiar, I wonder why I recognize that name. Well, it's because you listen to the Schmidt Show that you recognize that name, because we've talked about the Green Gillespie law firm, because the Gillespie law firm is the law firm that was handling the case in Arkansas against Board of Corrections member Alonza Giles, who is being sued by dozens of victims for sexual abuse over decades at the Lord's Ranch. The Green Gillespie law firm, specifically Josh Gillespie, was handling that case here in Arkansas. Now, there's other firms around the country. I believe one in Illinois, or maybe it was Michigan. I can't remember exactly. But there are a couple other law firms that are handling the case as well, or are working together on this case. So suddenly, this case takes another interesting turn, as it is not just an attorney, a well-known attorney in the area, who just attempted to rob an armored car on a bicycle, because it says in the news article, I believe KARK, our news partner, reported that he fled the scene on a bicycle. Now, we can make some assumptions about that. We can kind of put together the details. He was probably trying to conceal his identity, didn't want his knowing, it's a bank. There's going to be cameras and things around. The driver may even have a body camera or whatever, right? So the chances of his license plates being discovered by cameras or eyewitnesses, etc. He chose to park his car in a different area, ride up on a bicycle, do whatever robberying he was going to do, and then flee on his bicycle back to his car and escape undetected, if you will. That didn't happen because he ended up getting shot, and then gets in his car after escaping on his bicycle, apparently, finds out, hey, I got shot, or realizes the gunshot wound is worse than I expected. I might be bleeding to death. I better call 911. I've been shot. The police show up. They put 2 and 2 together. They realize, hey, this is probably the guy who just tried to rob the armored car and got shot. We should probably arrest him and haul him off to wherever he needs to be hauled off to, under guard at the hospital, wherever. So we now have an increased layer of oddity to this, that not only is he a well-known attorney in the area who's robbing an armored car, but he is a well-known attorney involved in a pretty high-profile case. Now, I don't know if he was actually involved in the actual case or if Josh Gillespie was handling it or whatever, and this is certainly in no way meant to disparage Gillespie Law Firm or anything like that, because I talked with Josh Gillespie when this whole story about Alonzo Giles broke in the first place, and Josh Gillespie seems like a very good person. And seems like a pretty skilled and adept attorney doing a very good job on this case, and had done an incredible level of investigation to come to the case and the information and the evidence that he had. So this is, like I say, in no way meant to disparage the Gillespie Law Firm, but it creates all kinds of questions and begins to raise all kinds of theories. And I was talking, so Monday, Richard Friend filled in for me, and we were chatting about this. I was asking him, hey, if you got any inside sources that could maybe help me out with some information on this, I'd love to hear it. But we got to chatting, he said, we could almost play conspiracy theory bingo. Just give everybody a bingo card, and for $1 you get to pick a square. And was he trying to fund a drug habit? Was he trying to cover up a gambling habit? Maybe he had an affair with a porn star and he needed $150,000 hush money cover up, and didn't want it to go through his law firm because he knows about another guy that did this and is now in court in New York. So what's the conspiracy theory on this, right? What's the reasoning behind this? This is one of the, we generally believe, right? All attorneys are rich because that's what attorneys do. Attorneys get rich, right? That's what the movies tell us. That's what we're told when we're in college. If you want to get rich, you got to be a doctor or a lawyer and all of that. And so we just assume that because he was an attorney, he's got lots of money. Now, that may not necessarily be the case. Maybe they took some bad cases and spent a lot of money and didn't win them and didn't get paid like they were expecting, and he was in financial trouble. There's a million reasons why. Again, could be a drug habit, could be a gambling habit, could simply be business isn't as good as it needs to be to pay the bills, and he was struggling and felt desperate, was in debt, whatever, needed to do something to pay off the bills or pay the bills. Maybe there was a loan shark involved, who knows what was going on. But I feel like it's going to be a little bit of full-on conspiracy theory Thursday here on The Schmidt Show, because I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on this. Like, just again, like we said yesterday, kind of knee-jerk reaction. No evidence necessary, just what in your imagination would lead to an attorney of a well-known law firm and a well-known attorney in the community, what would lead him to robbing a bank? Maybe not a conspiracy theory, but maybe you've got just a good explanation. Hey, it could be this. It could be that. So we're going to talk about this today. And I know, and I'm just going to be right up front and honest about this. We don't have a lot of answers. And most of what we're going to be talking about in accordance with this case and this discussion is going to be wild speculation and rumor and all of that. So don't expect any of the discussion on this unless somebody happens to know this person or have some inside information. Just be prepared. There's going to be a lot of wild speculation and conspiracy theories generated in this show and this segment about this discussion. So I want to be clear that we're not trying to portray any of this as we've got the answers. This is just an absolutely fascinating discussion for me. Like I've been in some tough positions financially in my lifetime. I've been pretty short on money. I've wondered how I'm going to pay the electric bill or get groceries or pay the rent for this week. And, back in my day when I was a kid, you could float a check, right? You could write a check on Thursday and tell them, hey, don't cash this until Monday because payday isn't until Monday, whatever. So I've been in some tough financial situations. I've never been at a point where I thought, hey, I know what I'll do. I'll go rob an armored car. So with that, we will continue with the Schmidt Show. There's a whole lot of other stuff we're going to talk about today as well. We might even get Nick Horton on today to talk a little bit about the LearnZac stuff and more. It's all coming up on News Radio 102.9 KARN.